Let's take a look at our next match. This is going to be now. They're not both from Midland, but we're still in West Texas out here. Player one on the left-hand side of your screen. This is going to be Alex. He is bringing Han 2 to the party. He is on Han 2, I believe, Night Sister. They're both Blue Force decks. I'll get this correct in just a minute. And then on the right-hand side of your screen, this is going to be Caleb, and he is on Han 1 Blue Force. So we're going to be looking at a battle to see which of the Hans can exert their dominance, which I think is going to be interesting.
Absolutely. You know, these are two very relevant leaders right now. Han 1, again, kind of back in the game because Force Throw was suspended and now definitely going to see a lot more play. And Han 2 Blue, well, this deck was one of the best decks in the format before the Force Throw suspension. And if the results from last weekend's Planetary Qualifier showed us anything, this deck is still one of the best decks in the format. So it'll be interesting to see these two pair up and what are the breakpoints in this matchup. Both obviously have the ability to essentially ramp, right? Han 2 can play those units for one less. Han 1 can get the extra resources, have potentially the big explosive flip turn going all the way up to 7. Woo! So here we go. Game 1. Ogdo Bogdo, classic start now for these Han 2 blue decks. So Alex with Ogdo and Caleb playing Yaddle. Ogdo's a little bit more scary than Yaddle.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, big time. I know which one I'd rather have.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ogdo Bogdo, 5/5. Can't attack unless it's damaged, but pairs perfectly with Han's ability, being able to come out a turn early and taking damage. So now it can attack. Alex has the initiative. We'll see if he immediately eats up Yaddle.
Yeah.
He does, and essentially not even going to take any damage because he defeats the unit, so he heals 2.
Yeah, that's one of the beauties of this early Ogdo is he can just roll right over most of the 2-drops that these Force decks want to play.
Absolutely right. And we do see Ezra Bridger coming out for Caleb, and it is Yoda, the Spark of Rebellion Yoda for Alex. Now with Caleb being able to grab the initiative there, I would assume that he wants to get this Ogdo Bogdo off the board as quickly as possible. Now Ezra could do that. We'll see if he has a better option here.
Nope, he's just going to swap it out.
Still absolutely. Take that big threat off the board and get the Force.
Yeah, still a good play there. Does leave him with his Force token.
Both players getting the Force. Yoda coming across first base damage of game 1. Now the action back over to Caleb. For resources, we are going to see the wonderful new Sentinel unit from Legends of the Force, Chirrut. The 4/3/5, and so hard to get through when you have the Force. And it is the other strong blue 4-cost unit from Legends of the Force, the Itinerant Warrior. Nothing to heal here, so no Force used on Alex's side.
I mean,
just a 4/4 shielded.
You could just, there's so many strong blue units throughout in set 5.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, the package of 4-cost units that this Han 2 Blue Force deck picked up in set 5 is absolutely insane. With Itinerant Warrior, Chirrut, and Ki-Adi-Mundi, it's just value for days at the 4-cost slot.
Yeah, it's pretty bonkers. There's just so many great cards. I remember I got to call a game, I think it was last weekend, it might have been 2 weeks ago, at one of the PQs up in Wisconsin. The late night gaming guys had me on, and I got to call a game of Carlos Apodaca playing this Han 1 Blue Force deck. It was the first time I'd ever seen anybody kind of mash that together, and it was really interesting. A lot of really neat play lines in that combo. Have you seen this one before?
I watched a Planetary Qualifier last weekend that did have some Han 1 Blue, but I may not be familiar with the line you're referring to.
I'm just saying there's just a lot of interesting things it can do, right? We're used to seeing
Yeah.
Han 1, if you see like Alex Blandon's classic Han 1 green, he goes very hard, very fast, very early to kind of ramp out, and just outvalue the opponent. But these Han blue decks, they tend to play a little longer game, where it's the 5 resource round, so we're obviously going to see Caleb, make a difficult choice here, use Han's ability to be able to get his leader onto the board. But it is there's a lot of neat things that these decks can do. Like, we're used to seeing in those green decks, like the 7 resource play. Han flips out and you've got 7. What do you do with it? I don't know. But like in this blue deck, you could drop a Luke on him, right? You could go from 5 to 7 in a round. In a minute, Alex could be staring down a Luke Skywalker. That's not pleasant.
No, not at all. Not at all. Now, Chirrut did trade some damage with Yoda, but it did leave Chirrut open to Itinerant Warrior coming across, just losing the shield token. Chirrut defeated, and then I believe it was Rivals Fall once again. We saw that card a lot in the last feature match. Rivals Fall taking out the Han Solo leader unit on Alex's side.
I'm just going to start calling that West Texas's favorite card. That's my new designation.
Did he Marin coming out for Alex?
And he entrenched his own. He entrenched his own warrior. The Itinerant Warrior just grabbed the entrenched, yeah.
Yeah, that Itinerant Warrior is going to be a problem in the ground arena for Caleb. Caleb does have a ready Han leader unit. He is going to attack 4 damage into Alex's base, getting another resource, but only 1 ready at this stage. Alex is going to claim the initiative, and Alex can quickly just run right through the Han Solo with the entrenched Itinerant Warrior. That is a 7/7 warrior that is going to get some real value in terms of taking out threats on Caleb's side.
Back in set 1, we saw a lot of Vigilance players experiment with entrenched on their own units, and very quickly the kind of prevailing wisdom became, no, use it for your opponent's stuff and lock something out of an arena that you don't want to deal with. This is one of the first times I've seen anybody use entrenched in an offensive manner in a long time, and I like it. It makes me wonder if it's the sort of thing that might make a comeback.
Yeah, may absolutely be strong plays in several matchups. Now, what it does here, being able to take out Han Solo leader unit, it's going to keep Caleb off of 7 resources, and we see Luke Skywalker in hand. So with Han defeated, he's exhausted. Caleb has no way to pick up that resource here.
Yep. Yeah, this should be a good turn for Alex. He's going to be able to clear Caleb's leader out, and should be able to push some base damage here and even get a little restore out of it, presuming that Yoda survives to attack, and I have to believe that he will at this stage.
Caleb's going to play Ahsoka. Ahsoka Tano coming out a 3/5, forcing Alex to discard a card. If he discards a unit, Caleb will be able to exhaust one of those ready ground units that Alex has, and he is going to discard a unit, Ogdo Bogdo.
So now Caleb gets a choice of which ground unit he can exhaust. I don't know why you wouldn't pick Yoda here. He goes for Marin. Okay.
Okay, yep, Marin exhausted. Now, Alex still has 6 resources to work with here. Yoda is going to get in for 2, restoring 2 as well. So 2 damage onto Ahsoka. The when defeated trigger off of Yoda, Alex drawing a card. Caleb just claiming, and here comes the champion of Mortis, Anakin Skywalker, taking out Ahsoka. Strong play, and now Alex has complete control of the board and still holding on to that very large 7-power Itinerant Warrior that can answer pretty much anything that Caleb would put down in the ground arena.
Han-2 looking much stronger here in the early stages of Game 1. I say early stages, more like the middle stages of Game 1.
So Caleb does have the first action. He does have Luke. Luke could immediately take out the Itinerant Warrior. He does also have Infus Nest, so that's another option. So a couple good 7-cost units to help clean up this board a little bit.
I think I like the idea of possibly the Enfys. Are you sure it's Enfys?
I do believe he had Emphasis
Okay.
in hand, but I think he may have resourced it.
Yeah, he's got something else on there on the far left card. I can't quite make out what it is. He's had that Luke for a while, but this is the first turn he's going to be able to play it, and that's going to be the play.
Yeah, there you go. Luke Skywalker, -3 to the Itinerant Warrior. Itinerant Warrior defeated, and that will at least protect Luke from being defeated in one action by the Warrior.
Marin's going to swing in for some extra damage here.
Yeah, that on attack ability, discarding a card, dealing 2 damage to Luke, 2 to base at the same time. And here comes Alex with his own Luke Skywalker, -6 to Caleb's Luke. Board cleared on it, Caleb's side. What a play.
Ouch.
All the tempo right now for Alex. Big response. Marin showing some value here with that on attack ability.
Yep. Yeah, he discarded that the hammerhead, and I don't think he was going to get a ton of value out of that card anyway. He had only 2 or 3 cards in his hand, and he could have put it into the Space Arena and gotten a little chip damage out of it, but I think he made the better play there. I missed what that was.
I believe it was Fell the Dragon.
Okay.
Pretty sure it was Fell, taking out Luke Skywalker. So now Anakin open to go into Caleb's base for 5 damage. Here comes the Itinerant Warrior, force used, healing 3. Caleb back down to 11 on. And here comes the value train for Alex. Kiadi Monday using the force. Playing Kiadi for 1 less resource, only paying 3. 2 damage to Kiadi Monday, drawing 2 cards, replenishing the hand. Caleb has nothing to do here, just claiming the initiative. And we are going to see that Marin on attack ability once again. And Cassian smuggled in. Readies because he was smuggled. Another 3 damage, 16 damage on Caleb's base. Look at this ground arena. Wow. So right now, Alex is showing Fatal on board. Caleb does have the first action. Just 12 HP remaining on Caleb's base. Only 2 cards in hand. Staring down multiple threats. And Kiadi Monday is the only threat the Itinerant Warrior could even attack and defeat in one action here, unless Caleb has some sort of pump.
This might be the first time I've seen anybody really get good value out of Marin, and I got to say it fits really well with the way Alex is playing this deck. He's gotten a couple of 4 damage to the base. He's gotten some chit damage here and there where he needed it, just using the unit to attack. It's been really nice.
So we do see Caleb playing his own Anakin Skywalker, -3 to Kiadi Monday, and I do believe -3 as well to Anakin Skywalker. So Anakin on Alex's side will only swing for 2 this phase. Two to brace. Caleb, 18 damage on. Caleb does have the ability of clearing out Alex's Anakin with the Itinerant Warrior because Anakin only has 4 HP remaining, but instead we see the Hotshot Blaster smuggled onto Itinerant Warrior, attacking right away with 2 additional power, defeating Marin. And Itinerant Warrior will stay on the board with 2 HP remaining.
So Alex has a choice now to make. Does he clear this blaster-armed Itinerant Warrior? You have to believe that Caleb's next action is to claim. He decides he's going to keep the pressure on.
Certainly the aggressor right now at this stage of the game. 21 damage on Caleb's base. Alex still has resources to work with. Here comes Poe Dameron. First time we've seen Poe in this match, and a Secretive Sage. So once again, it is going to be a turn where Alex starts with 4 units in the ground arena. And Caleb still has a lot of work to do to stabilize here in game one.
Yeah, it's been quite the recurring theme here. Every time you look up, Alex has got anywhere from 2 to 4 units in that ground arena, and Caleb just can't get anything to stick long enough to matter. That entrenched being a big play earlier, allowing him to just trade good value out of that to that 4/4 itinerant warrior.
Yeah, that was a really strong play from Alex, recognizing the benefit of immediately taking out Han Solo on that next turn and keeping Caleb off of 7 resources.
What I liked about it was it gave, like, mathematically, it gave him the opportunity, like, I can murder Han, or if he does resource up and drop a Luke, I can knock that off too, presuming that Luke doesn't get rid of me in exchange.
Right. So first action, Caleb is going to take the 6 power itinerant warrior, trade with the Poe Dameron unit. But 5 damage coming through. That's 26 damage on Caleb's base after Anakin Skywalker, the champion of Mortis, attacks. There's the fist bump. And that will do it for game one. Alex, the 1-0 lead here in round 3. What a strong game for Alex. As you mentioned, the early play with Entrenched onto the Itinerant Warrior really helped him get such a good tempo kind of in the early to mid game there that he was really able to carry the tempo through, and momentum really never left his side.
No, kind of everything coming up Alex there, and able to just put his foot on the gas and keep it down. It's the sort of thing that you expect out of these Han 2 decks, right? The ability to kind of economically kind of outvalue your opponent a little bit by taking damage on units like the early Ogdo Bogdo that we saw, which was also a brilliant turn 1 play there. So it's, long haul. He wants to be trading off, and Ogdo getting in great value there, basically 2-for-1ing his turn 1 play, being able to take out that early Yaddle and then forcing Caleb to dump Ezra into him just to clear it out of his way. Just set the tone for the whole rest of the game, because at that point, Caleb never really recovered.
Yeah. Ogdo Bogdo on turn 1 in certain matchups, it's just absolutely disgusting, and I feel like this is one of those spots.
Yeah.
So we'll see how Caleb can maneuver around that potential turn 1 Ogdo Bogdo again.
While these guys are doing a sideboard, I'm going to give a quick shout-out to my Patreon folks. I've been running a Patreon since, basically since the spring, where folks are able to contribute to helping me, maybe upgrade the setup or make it to events like this. And I have been very bad about acknowledging these folks, but a lot of these folks have stuck with me since the beginning. So huge shout-out to Adam Hughes, Chris Schoenthal, Karma Drome, Nick Nelson, Rudy, Kevin S., Zefke, and Bryce Roberts. I'll have some more shout-outs later, but I wanted to get those guys in now while I was thinking about it. So appreciate you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for supporting C-Raptor and his endeavors to bring these streams to the community. I know the community enjoys them, so it's great to be able to get you some support and have you travel around to these different tournaments.
I appreciate that. One quick note I should have mentioned earlier, if you guys were able to catch the stream that I had in in Dallas about a month ago. We covered the limited PQ up there. I had my hand cams working. That was something that my Patreons were able to help me with. They kind of funded the cameras and the various tech that kind of helped all that come together. Unfortunately, during setup last night, we had a bit of a failure for one of my HDMI cables for my main cameras, so I had to kind of adopt one of the hand cams into a different service today to be able to bring you this view you're looking at right here. So we don't have hand cams today, but that just sort of takes us back to the way that, honestly, I cast most of my events with. That was a new addition to me, so I kind of called the audible last night, like, well, I'm used to doing it without. We'll just do it without.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the hand cams are great for sure, but hey, technical difficulties plague us all sometimes, but we appreciate all the work you do and look forward to seeing those again in the future. But as we get ready for game 2, and as we talked a little bit about the early Ogdo Bogdo, I was just thinking a little bit more about it, and I'm almost wondering if Caleb needs to try and find a turn 1 play that has 3 power. I think you could, with the initiative in theory, start with something like Yaddle again, and then, maybe bounce the Ogdo Bogdo back to hand with something like a Waylay. Since you are in Cunning, you could, play a buff, Surprise Strike, or Hot Shot Blaster onto Yaddle to trade with the Ogdo. So there are still options, but that requires 2 cards. So I think if we could find a 3-power unit on turn 1, that's probably best, just to try and defend against that early Ogdo. And we did see Ezra in turn 1, so we know, or on turn 1 in game 1.
So he could do it.
So that's certainly a possibility. Yeah.
The other play that I think he could look for that I have to presume is in there would be a Secret of Sage, right? The shield would at least keep the unit on the board, and the Ogdo wouldn't just eat it relentlessly, right? He would have to do something else to get rid of it.
Right.
Of course, that's also presuming that Alex draws another Ogdo in the early game. We don't know. But it is certainly kind of the nightmare scenario for Caleb, as we saw in game 1. Han Blue Force coming in. If you're going to be manipulating that Force token, you're going to be in the ground arena. Like, you're kind of telegraphing that to your opponent, for lack of a better way to put it, up front. And so a deck like Han 2 that has so many strong early ground units available to him has a lot of options to try to find ways to kind of, get in your way and mess up your plans in the early going.
So Han versus Han, game 2, getting ready to get underway here. Caleb will have the initiative to start game 2. And I'm not seeing Ogdo Bogdo in Alex's hand, so I don't think Caleb will have to relive the same scenario as game 1.
No, I don't think he's going to have to. In fact, he's definitely going to be spared that pain, it would seem. Not happy with his hand, though. He's going to throw that one back and look for something else.
I think in terms of a play that we saw in game 1, the entrenched onto one of Alex's own units in the ground arena, that's something that I don't know if we saw Waylay in game 1, but if Caleb has something like a Waylay, I think that would be fantastic in a position like that.
Yeah.
See if that's an option for him moving forward, if we see Alex follow similar lines.
He could also theoretically have cards like, I would expect Bamboozle to be in there, just given the nature of the game where we're at right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you could even make an argument for Will of the Force. He is playing a Force deck. That card is not very popular outside of the limited format right now, because cards like Waylay still exist and are cheaper.
Yeah, that is a good point. All right, so Caleb ready to go here. And it looks like turn 1, Spark of Rebellion. Okay.
Going to try and rip one of these
Would be
early plays out.
fantastic, yeah. He could just rip the turn 1 play.
And he does.
All right, yeah, Alex only had one option on turn 1. It was going to be a Marin off of the Han action ability. That is stripped out of Alex's hand with Spark, so not a bad start for Caleb.
Did you see what he drew? He drew another.
Did he draw another Marin?
He drew another one and went off top of his deck. Yeah, I mean, he didn't. It comes too late because it's not like Bazine where you're replacing it in kind at the same time. But he just drew another one.
Well, speaking of Marin, there it is. So Marin comes right back as the opening play on turn 2 for Alex, and now we see Ezra Bridger, a repeat of Caleb's turn 2 play in game 1. Now, depending on what Alex plays, something like a Hot Shot Blaster onto Ezra could actually allow Ezra to take out Marin and stay on the board.
We got a quick glimpse of his resource row. He does have a tech in there right now, but I did not see a blaster.
Okay. So first action for Alex, he is going to go into Caleb's base with Marin, 2 damage, and it looks like no on attack ability being triggered here. So just trading some attacks to base. Ezra goes into Alex's base for 3. Both players have the Force. There is Kiadi Monday. Early Force usage here for Alex, drawing 2 cards off of Kiadi's when played ability.
It's going to set him up nicely. He drew some really good stuff in there. that Cham could be impactful if if Caleb there decides he wants to use Han's game text next round, and I'm willing to bet he does. So I'll be curious to see if Alex decides he wants to play this Cham and catch up.
It's an excellent point. Cham's so good against Han Solo Audacious Smuggler to just match what they're doing. We did see Itinerant Warrior coming out for Caleb. The Force was used on Caleb's side as well, going back down to 0 damage on base. And Marin attacking right away into Ezra, I believe. Into base here.
Yeah.
And the on-attack ability taking out the Itinerant Warrior shield token.
Yep, discarding a Poe for that. Kind of tells you how good his hand is. If you're throwing away a Poe to knock off a shield of your opponent's unit, you must have a pretty banger hand.
Couldn't agree more. It actually looks like he has another Poe Dameron in hand. He does.
Oh, yeah.
So Alex is ready to start playing the big bombs. Caleb going 4 to base, staying a little bit more on the aggressive side here, getting the Force once again. Quickly deployed on Alex's side, the Han Solo leader unit. Looks like we're just going to trade some damage. Ezra Bridger attacking Han Solo leader unit, 3 damage on each unit. Both surviving at least one more action.
Caleb kind of taking his time here. You know, a lot of times you see the Han players when they want to resource, when they want to jump the gun with the resource and use Han's ability, they'll do it, kind of on their own time, and Caleb's definitely got that feeling going on here.
Caleb has been a little bit more aggressive, and Alex trying to push the brakes for Caleb just a little bit. Kiade trading with the Itinerant Warrior. And here comes Vernestra Rowe. Force used. So Vernestra ready. Vernestra just going to attack into Han Solo leader unit. Han defeated. But then we see the big Poe Dameron. And you talked about Cham, but now those resources have been used. Caleb using the Han action ability, going up to 6, deploying Han. Keeping his foot on the gas pedal. It looks like another 4 damage to Alex's base. That is 11 total.
Well,
going up to 3 ready resources.
And there's a Fell the Dragon.
Oh, is it 4 ready resources?
Yeah,
okay, I miscounted. Wow, that's a great response.
Yep, well, he used Han, and then he swung in, so we had 4 ready, and then there was the Fell.
Yeah, that is excellent. I had miscounted the ready, so great spot for Fell the Dragon here. Really nice sequencing from Caleb during that turn. And now Caleb in complete control here with just Marin on the board for Alex.
Yeah, kind of the opposite of what we saw in Game 1 here. Caleb kind of overrunning the ground arena now.
Now, the problem is that Marin on attack ability is trouble.
Yeah, right.
Marin is able to attack
just
and
like you just saw.
Both of these units.
Yeah. So Marin makes quick work of the 2 damage units in the ground arena with her ability.
Both players down to just 1 unit left on board. Han Solo leader unit still ready for Caleb. Alex discarding the pillage on Marin's on attack ability. Now Han is going to attack and defeat Marin. 4 HP remaining, getting another resource.
Okay. I'm not sure I would have done it that way. I think I might have gone ahead and just gone straight to base there, but we do see the Cham finally come out.
Yeah, Cham matching, getting another resource for Alex, but we see the champion of Mortis, Anakin, coming out. And that was a total of -6 to Cham Syndulla. So Cham defeated, and Caleb will start the next round in complete control of this board once again.
I like the Cham play. I think if I was Caleb, I might have continued to put my foot on the gas right then, gone to base there and left Marin around. But I think he certainly looks like he's made a better decision now. It always feels better to come in with a clean board.
Now Alex has his own Fell the Dragon, defeating Anakin Skywalker unit on Caleb's side. Caleb Getting another 4 damage into Alex's base. That is 15 damage on, so 13 HP remaining. Here comes Pillage to strip both cards in Caleb's hand. What a strong play.
He's been at one point he had 2 of those in his hand, and he ended up ditching one to Marin's ability earlier on. And I was wondering what he was going to do with the second one, and there's the answer.
Well, fortunately for Caleb, he is still able to play from his resource row. He had tech in his resources, smuggling tech into play.
Ooh.
And it looks like we're going to go ahead and put the blaster to use these other ready resources. Blaster smuggled onto tech. So that will give Caleb 2 4-power units in the ground arena.
Nice use of smuggle there to kind of give Caleb the opportunity to still get some value out of that turn, even after getting his hand gutted with all of his resources ready.
Yeah, tech is a huge follow-up to the pillage, and tech, of course, giving Caleb all kinds of options here.
Yeah.
Every one of the cards in his resources now have smuggle with just an additional cost of 2 resources. So Caleb's hand just grew exponentially. We'll see if Alex has a quick answer for tech. It's not an immediate answer for tech, but it is Crate Dragon, the big 10-10 overwhelm unit. This could be some trouble for Caleb.
Yeah, Caleb's got to try to figure this out now. We know he's been playing things like Fell the Dragon, right? A good answer for this card, literally in name. The card is named after. But with only 2 cards in his hand, he's, Alex is basically banking that he doesn't have an answer, and got to feel good about that play right now.
I think Caleb might just say, you know what, I'm going to be aggressive. Hot Shot Blaster smuggled in onto Han, and here comes 6 damage to base. That is 21 damage, so Alex has to claim. Caleb is wide open with Surprise Strike. That should be 7 total. Game 2 in the books. Caleb sending us to game 3.
Nicely done. He had exactly the right line at the right time and didn't have to overpay for it, right? Because Crate Dragon, those are cheap cards. You're only able to dish out 3 damage and then in response, and that's not killing anything at that point. Nicely done.
Absolutely.
Nicely done.
Crate Trigger. That was beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. Crate Dragon. Caleb says, Crate Dragon, no problem. He had the pumps to get across the finish line. Strong performance for Caleb in game 2. Some really nice sequencing earlier in the game, when especially that turn where he used the Han action ability, was able to deploy Han and then get that 4th ready resource to take out the Poe Dameron with Fell the Dragon. I felt like that was kind of the turn that really solidified this game for Caleb.
Absolutely. He had used Han's ability, gone to 6, deployed Han, attacked with Han, then he gone to 7. But at that same turn, he had spent 3. Now he had 4 up and a Fell the Dragon in hand and a Poe across the board. I know what I'd do. That's easy.
Yeah, absolutely. A good friend of mine says, you untap and swing with Poe, that's generally game.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's very hard to win games when your opponent is able to ready and use Poe Dameron.
Yeah.
In this case, Caleb was able to stop that from happening.
Such a strong unit with just a myriad of options in that game text box that give you the ability to deal with so many things. You want to push extra damage? Sure, you can. You want to push, you want to discard an upgrade? Sure, we'll offer you that. Like, there's just so many great things that Poe can do if he survives to attack. And Caleb had the right line at the right time, saw it, and I'm not sure Alex ever really got back on the front foot after that.
Yeah, totally agree. Poe Dameron, quick to improvise. Still one of the best, if not the best, overall 5-cost unit in the game, and came out back in Shadows of the Galaxy and remains a staple in a lot of aggression, heroism decks to this day. And I'm sure he will continue to be that way until we see rotation hit.
Yeah, a whole lot of people who don't play Hero Aggression are going to be just very happy when that card and Wrecker rotate out in the spring, right? They're just so tired of getting run over by those 2 guys. Poe, when he was released, a 5-cost 6/6, so already the value you're getting just based on what you're paying, and then the game text on top of that. Absolutely insane how good that card is. They've printed some 6/6 statted 5-drops since then, but none of them have seen the kind of play that Poe Dameron continues to see today.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So it looks like game 3, Alex will start with the initiative. Love to see a deciding game 3 here.
Everybody loves a game 3, man.
Oh
Everybody
yeah,
loves a good game 3.
absolutely.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, there it is.
There it is. Turn 1, Ogdo Bogdo from
Uh-oh.
Alex. What does Caleb do this time around? Does he have a way to
Ooh.
put something on the board with 3 power? He
Let's
uses the
see.
Han action ability.
Okay.
Oh no, it's the tech. Tech only has 2 power.
Yeah, why? I head scratch why you do this. I don't understand this play.
Yeah, Tech is not going to stick around. No doubt about that. Alex can quickly attack and
Yeah,
defeat Tech with Ogdo and essentially not take any damage.
what am I missing? Why would you give that up for free? Okay.
Tough spot.
Yeah.
Another.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, there's another Tech.
Okay.
Here comes Han action ability again. We're going to get the Itinerant Warrior out a turn early. 2 damage, but it's still going to get that shield token, so it will still be difficult for Caleb to get through. Caleb has the initiative, but this is not the start he was looking for in game 3.
Not even a little bit. Double tech early. I mean, if you're Han, double tech is great, but you want him in your resource row. But it feels like he's kind of scrambling just to have units to play.
Yeah, definitely not the best opening hand in this situation for Caleb. Does Caleb have a way to deal with this Ogdo? Because again, Ogdo can just quickly take out Tech and remain with only 2 damage.
Yeah, he just takes him out for free, right? He attacks, takes 2, heals 2. Okay.
Okay.
That's
There's
something.
an answer. Fell the dragon.
That's something at least.
So Ogdo Bogdo, problem number 1 dealt with for Caleb. We still have the Itinerant Warrior. Action back over to Alex. And Alex is going to play Cheer It into the ground arena. Caleb with a quick claim here. And the Itinerant Warrior going into Caleb's base for a total of 4 damage. And Alex getting the force.
Now, chat pointing out that, by ditching, by the sequencing, he did have Caleb. Let's talk about Caleb's opening play, why we're a little baffled. He did draw that early Anakin. You can see it in his hand there. Chat basically pointing out he kind of sequenced things there so he could get cards into the discard pile to set up for the Anakin bomb later on. At least that's their argument. If that's the play, I understand it, but I'm not sure. I'm still not sure I agree with it. I guess we're about to see, right? Because Caleb's the man in the chair, so don't take my criticism.
Yeah, certainly good to get heroism and villainy cards in the discard pile. And that's one of the beautiful things with this Han 1 Blue Force deck, because Han's ability is so good because you can put those villainy cards down into your resource row and then defeat it off of Han's action ability. So you don't even have to pay an expensive cost for one of these cards, but we are going to see him play one of these villainy cards. Yeah, he plays Power of the Dark Side.
Yeah, that's the thing, and I was just about to comment about that. I saw this out of Carlos Apodaca's version of this deck, and this might be the same deck. I don't know, but he was playing some of these banger, really good villainy vigilance cards, and you have that option of, if I need this card, I can overpay to play it, or with Han's ability, I can engineer a way to throw it in my discard pile, and eventually that helps me out with Anakin's ability later on.
Definitely. So the Itinerant Warrior defeated with the Power of the Dark Side, and Han Solo leader unit quickly being deployed for Alex.
Now Caleb is in a bit of a pickle here, right? He had to blow everything to play that Power of the Dark Side. He can bring Han onto the board this round. He probably needs to, but he's only got 2 cards in hand, so it's gonna be a very expensive play for him to do this here. Looks like he's got a Yoda, and we know he's got that Anakin he's been sitting on for a while. So it's a question of, do you give this up, or do you just take it in the face this round? And it looks like the answer is he wants to make sure he keeps his foot on the gas.
So there you go. Han action ability up to 6 resources. Yoda being put down as a ready resource for Caleb. Holding on to Anakin Skywalker. That's going to be a very important card for Caleb. Very likely next turn we see Han Solo getting into Caleb's base for 3. And here comes Caleb's own Han Solo leader unit.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's entrenched again, this time onto Chirrut. That is a massive Sentinel in the ground arena for Alex. That is a 6-8 that becomes even more difficult to get through because of his text.
That
Wow.
feels so bad now. That's going to be rocky. He's going to throw Han away just to put some damage into him. It's only going to be 2 damage, so we'll see how this shakes out. Again, with the, we know what Caleb has in his hand. Alex, of course, has no idea, but man, that hurts.
Really does. Chirrut quickly taking out tech. Cham Syndulla going to get an extra resource for Alex.
The draws.
What a turn here.
What a
for
turn.
Alex.
What a turn for Alex. The entrenched into Cham, just absolutely crazy how good that play is.
Really is. The Cham Syndulla, again, just so good against Han Solo, Audacious Smuggler, because they get that 1 extra resource and then you respond by. And the great thing with Cham is, you're getting a permanent resource,
yes,
right?
Yes, you are.
Caleb's having to throw away.
He's having to throw cards
that resource. Yeah. Caleb has the initiative, but he is staring down a true onslaught in the ground arena. Now, Chirrut can't attack Caleb's base because of entrenched, but of course, you talked about it. These Han 1 decks, I mean, it's very ground-based, clearly.
Yeah.
And Chirrut can just eat up anything.
Anytime you play a force base, right, you're going to be largely with a ground focus. Just because there are no force space units right now. All right, so we're going to see Anakin here. It's a question of how he dishes this out, right?
Yeah, that's right. Because he does have heroism and villainy in the discard pile, so it looks like all of it was going to Chirrut.
He had to double up on Chirrut just to clear that ridiculousness. But again, if you're Caleb, that's your turn. Like, you're just going to get kicked in the face now, and Alex is going to play more cards on top of that when the time comes, because you're tapped out and he hasn't spent a thing yet. Yeah.
Yeah, another 5 damage from Cham. Here comes a big play. Luke giving Anakin -6/-6, and Han will just take out Anakin. 12 damage on Caleb's base and no units on the board. What a pivotal turn for Alex.
Yeah.
And he is now in the driver's seat without a doubt.
Yeah, the entrenched Chirrut, I think, is just a back-breaking play. And what I love about Alex's use of that card in this deck, again, I said it earlier, entrenched historically in blue decks, you see it used a lot to control your opponent's side of the board, to give them a unit. Okay, you're going to play something big in space. I don't want to deal with it. I'll just block it out so it can't smash me in the base. But we've seen him now used entrenched to massive effect in the ground arena on his own units, which is kind of the way the card I think was originally designed, but we just haven't seen it played that much that way in a long time.
Now Yaddle coming down for Caleb, and then Cham Syndulla once again getting in for 5.
Yeah,
we are going to see another spark of rebellion, but just no answers for these ground units currently. The Grogu, Anakin, and Obi-Wan.
I mean, I think you have to. Yeah, I think you have to yank the Obi there. Like, it's just yet another bloody Sentinel. Give me a break. Like, this just keeps getting worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, as if Chirrut wasn't bad enough.
Right, here comes another 6 damage. That should be 23 damage on Caleb's base. Alex not quite showing fatal here. He's 1 shy with Han. But Caleb has to find some kind of answer quickly.
I don't know what he can have at this point.
Yeah, and there it is. There's the fist bump. Alex, dominant fashion, taking game 3. And he wins here in round 3 at this Planetary Qualifier. Very strong performance for Alex there in that final match, or that final game.
Yeah, that was great. A great series, but I think it really highlights the power of why these Han 2 blue decks are still in the environment, after Force Throw. I think a lot of folks thought, oh, Force Throw's gone. Maybe this deck will finally cool its jets, and I don't see it because the deck still has so many tools. The card pool you have access to in Red Blue Heroism is just so strong. I think there's always something that you can be doing.